Fires burned inside buildings in Tel Aviv, and explosions were heard in Jerusalem, after Iran launched retaliatory airstrikes at Israel Friday night. The attacks followed Israel's biggest ever military strike against Iran, its longtime enemy. Israel's ambulance service said several people were treated for shrapnel injuries in the Tel Aviv area. 2 U.S. officials said the United States military helped shoot down Iranian missiles headed toward Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he authorized the air assault in an effort to prevent Iran from building nuclear weapons. Iran has long insisted its nuclear program is for civilian purposes only. U.S. President Donald Trump, meanwhile, said it was not too late for Tehran to halt the bombing campaign by reaching a deal on its nuclear program. In a phone interview with Reuters, Trump said nuclear talks between Iran and the United States scheduled for Sunday were still on the agenda, though he was not sure if they would take place. 2 regional sources said at least 20 Iranian military commanders were killed in Israel's first wave of attacks. Iran also said 6 of its top nuclear scientists had been killed.
President Donald Trump's long-sought military parade rolled through the streets of downtown Washington on Saturday in celebration of the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary.
Every other country celebrates their victories. It's about time America did too.
But the event, which coincided with Trump's 79th birthday, was marred by a day of violence and discord. From New York to Chicago to Los Angeles, hundreds of thousands of Americans marched in protest of Trump's actions while in office.
I believe that Donald Trump is destroying our country.
And earlier in the day, a gunman assassinated a Democratic lawmaker and wounded another in Minnesota. The parade kicked off earlier than expected due to thunderstorms forecast in the Washington area, with tanks, armored personnel carriers, and artillery. It's an unusual sight in the U.S. where such displays of military are rare. Trump watched the proceedings from an elevated viewing stand behind bulletproof glass.
We the people! We the people!
Many of the protests against him earlier in the day took place under the theme No Kings, asserting that no individual is above the law. Actor Mark Ruffalo was at the protest in New York.
We have a king and his court and his beige henchmen, and they're trampling on our rights and our laws and our freedoms.
The demonstrations were largely peaceful and marked the largest outpouring of opposition to Trump's presidency since he returned to power in January. The situation was more tense in Los Angeles, though. Police used flashbang grenades and tear gas to push back protesters. Anti-Trump groups planned nearly 2,000 demonstrations across the country to coincide with the parade. Critics have called the parade a wasteful authoritarian display of power, especially given Trump has said he wants to slash costs throughout the federal government. Officials say the celebrations are expected to cost the U.S. Army between $25 million and $45 million.
Our state lost a great leader, and I lost the dearest of friends.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and law enforcement officials said a gunman posing as a police officer killed senior Democratic State Assemblywoman Melissa Hortman and her husband at their residence in Brooklyn Park on Saturday.
In what appears to be a politically motivated assassination.
That's after the gunman shot and seriously wounded State Senator John Hoffman and his wife in their home in a nearby town. Residents sheltered in place as a major search backed by the FBI was underway for the suspect, who fled on foot after firing at police. Officials said he abandoned a vehicle in which officers found a manifesto listing the Hortmans and Hoffmans, among other legislators and officials. Here's Drew Evans with the Minnesota Department of Safety.
About 2 a.m. this morning, there was an original call in the city of Champlin where there was an individual that had shot Senator Hoffman and his wife. At approximately 3:35, that another call came in when it was officers proactively checking because they knew of the incident that occurred, and they were going to check on Speaker Hortman at that time, at which time Brooklyn Park police officers encountered the individual who immediately fired at them. and they exchanged gunfire, and then the individual was able to escape during that exchange of gunfire.
Officials say the suspect, who was wearing a vest with a taser, other police equipment, and a badge, is believed to have fled from the rear of the home. In a statement, U.S. President Donald Trump said, quote, "Such horrific violence will not be tolerated in the United States of America. God bless the great people of Minnesota, a truly great place."
There will now be a minute of silence to remember those who lost their lives and those affected by the Indian airplane disaster.
Danish women turning 18 after July 1st will be required to register for assessment days for potential military conscription, aligning with measures already in place for men. The change comes as the country moves to strengthen its defenses. Denmark's government in March committed to a $5.9 billion increase in defense spending over the next 5 years to meet NATO targets. This 22-year-old private on exercise near Copenhagen said the change will be a positive step towards equality.
And I think it's also very good for young men, young women to be able to participate kind of equally in society. I think it would be unfair if the conscription was only for men, or like it has been.
Denmark recruits for its military every year. All men must undergo assessment to see if they are suitable to be conscripted if there are not enough volunteers. Beginning in February 2026, military service will increase from the current 4 months to 11. The Danish military says it expects around 4,000 young people to complete their service next year, which should increase to 6,500 annually by 2033.
Maritime heritage, or boats, played a role comparable to agriculture in the emergence of civilization in Mesopotamia, through rivers, trade, communication and more. With wars, they disappeared. Since 2017, we have been working on documenting and examining the remnants of the memory of maritime heritage. We found people who work and descendants of those who used to build boats. We built a collection of boats, mostly inland boats. We now have boats like the famous circular-shaped Gufra, the Meshruf and the Azbiya from the city of Hit, which used to transport bitumen from Anbar province to the south.